My name is Brooks Peck. I'm the curator of the Avatar exhibition and a number of other exhibitions here at EMP. We're just really flattered and really glad that you choose to come here for this get-together. It's really, warm fuzzies, that's the best way I can sum it up. It's just makes us feel good to meet people who appreciate the work and the movies and things like Avatar that we work with. And coming and talking to you all. I also want to say that your organizational abilities frighten me. You're amazing. And just for my own edification, how many of you are from outside the States? Wow. All right. That's great. So I want to introduce our guest tonight, Jon Landau. Jon Landau is a film producer. Now, what does that mean? Have any of you seen Avatar the exhibition over there? Okay, if you've seen that, you'll know that at the end, there's this wall, this display with all these monitors, and it's showing the film production at the various stages and then the sort of final thing and how it all comes together. So we call that actually the Landau wall, because when we were designing the exhibition, we didn't have that. We sort of had all the steps of how the movie was dreamed up and how it was made and the technology. And we presented it to Jon, and Jon was the one who said, look, that's great, but you need something at the end to give everyone the big picture all in one go. You need to wrap it up and remind them what happened. And really, there he is doing that producer job. He's the guy who looks at the big picture and helps us all, helps keep it all organized. I don't know how he does it. It's amazing. Let's just bring him out. Here's Jon.
Everybody, it is a pleasure to be here. I mean, the fact that this exists, it's like living a dream for us. I mean, it's really terrific, and we appreciate everything that you do as fans of the film, as fans of the world. I would be remiss, however, tonight if I did not start out by acknowledging the tragic events that happened in Colorado today. And, our hearts and our prayers go out to the families, the communities, and everybody there. But, we have to preserve our freedoms. And we have to continue our lives and move on, just the way we did after 9/11, just the way Virginia Tech did after their tragedy. This was not about the movie industry. It's not a statement about that. It's a statement about all of the things that I think this movie talks to thematically, about being in a world where we have to learn how to interact and live with one another. And together, hopefully, we'll find ways in the future of preventing these type of events without, restricting our freedoms. But our hearts and prayers go out to all of the families who are affected. One friend of mine who has a website he runs, one of the people who tragically lost their lives, worked for one of his websites previously. So in some way, we're all affected, and I just want to touch on that before getting into talking about the world of Pandora and Avatar, and on hopefully much more upbeat notes. So for us, we really feel that we are at the beginning of the development of the world of Avatar. We are very, very excited about what the future holds. We've gotten Jim back from the depths of the ocean. It was a very long couple of hours for me as he was going down, and I would get the text, and I got the first text. He's launched, and now I'm in London, because you got to imagine this. I'm in London. That's where we're doing the premiere for Titanic 3D, like in 48 hours, and Jim has this weather window where he's got to dive to the wreck, and the weather window opens up, and the texts start coming out. He's launched. He's at 1,000 feet. He said 2,500 feet. He said 8,000 feet. Then nothing. And I'm pacing my hotel room back and forth in London, back and forth, back and forth. And then he's at the bottom. Now, that's not a thing to celebrate. Coming back from the bottom is the thing to celebrate. All right? So I'm still pacing on the room, and finally I get the text that he surfaced and did accomplish, And in talking to Jim about, why he did it, to him was not about a record. It was about his being an explorer and wanting to motivate other people to reach out in their lives and to explore and to discover and to always search out the unknown. And that's why he really did it more than anything. So he's back now in hibernation, writing. So we're very excited about that. But we're also moving forward on many different fronts that I'm sure many of you are aware of. We have Kathy Franklin here tonight, who I think some of you have interacted with, is our president of franchise development. And this is a relatively, I think it's a very unique position that we created in conjunction with Fox, because we saw an opportunity with Avatar to expand the world and the universe of the film and the movie beyond just the big screen. And studios are not equipped to do that. Studios are worrying about the movie that's coming out next month, or the month after, or the month after. They're not looking at the big picture. So we wanted to look at the big picture so that together we could develop a plan for the future. So that we want Kathy and her team to be looking 20 years out. What is that? How do we continue to be evocative of the same things that the film was in other opportunities? And I think that's what she's really doing a great foundation of setting up. You've probably read or heard that we're working with Walt Disney Studios on a theme park. There's not much that I can tell you about that, except it will be an opportunity to go to Pandora in a really exciting way on a scale. I try and explain to people, they go, oh, yeah, you're doing Star Tours. No. Star Tours is a ride. We're doing a land. We're doing 13 acres. We're going to let people go to Pandora. So we're very excited about that. But I want to go back and just maybe share with you a little bit about what it took to get the movie made and some of the things that happened on our journey while we were making the film. As many of you know, Jim wrote Avatar back in the mid-'90s. And the technology didn't exist to do the movie the way we wanted to do it, so we put it on the back burner. And around 2005, we really felt that we could be the impetus to push things forward and push the technology where we needed it to go. People then go, oh, is that the 3D technology? No, it's not the 3D technology. It's the technology of creating engaging and emotive characters in a world like we've never seen before. That's what we wanted to wait to do. And thanks to a phenomenal team of people that we had around us, several of whom helped in the exhibit upstairs, Richie Bainham, Nolan Murtha, Paul Fromer, who I know is going to be here on Sunday, Dr. Judy Holt, who helped us with the plants, Yuri Bartoli, and others, we were able to accomplish everything that we had dreamed. But we didn't know we would. And there was a moment in time where we were literally 3 years into the making of the movie, and we had not seen one frame of finished film. And we finally got back a sequence. And it was a sequence where Jake is out in the rainforest and Neytiri sees him for the first time. And it was all of 35 seconds. And Jim and I watched it together. And when it was over, we looked at each other and said, you know what? We got excited. This could work. This could really work. And we got excited. And then we realized that sequence had 11 shots, and we had 1,900 more to do. So it was but a fleeting moment for us. But what was so important for us was the characters. And what you saw to me in that scene more than anything else is Zoe doesn't speak a line of dialogue, but you know what she's thinking. You know what she's feeling. And that's what we had to convey. And that process started with the casting of actors. We looked to cast the best actors in the role. We could cast anybody because it didn't matter what they physically looked like, especially for the Na'vi clan. But Zoe gave us so much, and Sam gave us so much. But at the very beginning of the process, we wanted to take them out and to give them an experience. And maybe many of you are familiar with the idea that we went to Hawaii and we rehearse in the rainforests of Hawaii. Our first day going out into the rainforest, we had a very profound thing happen. We drove by a clear-cutting operation right there, and we stopped. And everybody got out, and we had our cameras, or not film cameras, but just like behind-the-scenes cameras, and we started videotaping this. And I remember Sigourney just being so transfixed on what was happening and the destruction of this beautiful rainforest. And we asked the driver, because there was one big vehicle that was doing this, why? He didn't know. He was just told to come out here and knock down this area. And we're up in the rainforest. It's not where they're building houses, not anything like that. And that was that really gave some gravitas to the cast as we spent the next 3 days rehearsing scenes. We want to give the cast something to bring back, something to a sense memory experience when they worked on our sterile stage doing the performance capture. And maybe some of you have heard Sam tell the story I'm about to tell you, but I'm going to share it anyway, which was on our third day. We're in the heart of the rainforest, and we put Sam in a loincloth, and he was pale as a ghost. We gave him a plastic bow, a really bad wig with a long ponytail, and we're out there. And Jim has a handy cam of some kind that he's filming all of this with. And sure enough, there's a guy walking his dog. And the guy looks at Sam and goes, "What are you doing?" And Sam goes, "We're making a movie, mate." The guy goes, "You're making a movie?" He goes, "Yeah. You see that guy over there?" And he points to Jim with the little hand cam. Goes, "That's Jim Cameron. He did Titanic." The guy goes, "Boy, he's gone downhill." So, that is a true story that actually happened. And you probably have never seen Sam or Zoe, in any of those costumes, because I think we promised them most of those shots would never get out. They were so bad. But that is a true story. And when we were on our press, doing our press, I always sort of tried to bring that story out of Sam to get him to tell it. So we'd be on this dais, and they'd be go, "Any other questions?" And people go, "No." I go, Sam, tell the story. Because he tells it so well. But they were so great together, Sam and Zoe, and what they were able to bring to the parts. And then Sigourney, as the elder statesman of the cast, certainly that played in the virtual world, she embraced it, because what she understood. What we are trying to do with virtual characters is to preserve the actor, not to get rid of the actor, not to replace the actor, but to let their performances shine through. Andy Serkis has done a phenomenal job of doing that. Sam and Zoe did. But our industry, the film industry, does not understand that. People are afraid of what we do because they don't understand it. They think we're looking to get rid of jobs for actors. We're not. We're trying to prevent them from going through 4 hours of makeup in the morning. We're trying to allow them to play characters that they could not otherwise play. We're trying to allow ourselves to tell stories that cannot otherwise be told with designs that cannot otherwise be told. You can't make a chin smaller with prosthetics. You can't make eyes bigger with prosthetics. So our goal was to preserve the performances. And filmmaking is a collaborative effort. And I've had this argument with actors where they said, "Oh, well, their performance is touched by the visual effects people." And I say, "Yeah, but your performance is touched by an editor a sound mixer, on and a makeup artist, on and on and on. It doesn't take away from the people who are making the creative choices about what the character does. And that's really what we tried to preserve in doing this. So a couple months after Jim and I had seen the sequence where we said, okay, now we got 1,900 shots left to go, it was time to show the cast some of the footage. And I brought Sam in to a little screening room we have, smaller than this room, and sat him down and showed him the scene where he wakes up as an avatar for the first time. And I was very nervous. You know, we had made this commitment to Sam that when he saw the scene, that, you know, it would be his performance up on the screen. And we start the scene, and he gets up, and he staggers, and he onto the glass, and Sam starts to laugh. And I just shrink. I think he could sense my shrinking. And he turns to me and goes, "No, mate, that's a good laugh. That's a good laugh." And he was so excited by what he saw because he saw himself in that character. The way John Hurt would see himself in The Elephant Man, or Marlon Brando as the Godfather, or any of these other. He saw himself. And he said, "John, can I bring my friends by tomorrow to see this?" So I thought that was a really, really good sign. Another story that this popped into my head about Sam was later on in the process. We were in post-production, and Sam came down with his family, and Jim was in a meeting in his editing room. And I said, "No, Sam, he said, I don't want to see you. Come on in. I don't want to interrupt him. I said, no, Sam, don't worry." You know, and I knock on the door, and Jim goes, "Come on in." We come in, and I knew who Jim was meeting with. I didn't tell Sam who he was meeting with. He was meeting with Will Smith. And Sam was saying, "Oh my God, it was Will Smith." And, "Oh my God." And I met Will Smith, and da-da-da-da-da. I said, "Sam, let's just be clear. He's here to see the movie you're working on." And all of a sudden, Sam felt a little better. "Excuse me, Will, I have my family here. Would you take some pictures with them?" So Sam made the adjustment very, very quickly. Weta Digital. You know, they are a phenomenal team of people. You've seen their work on everything from the Hobbits that is coming out to Lord of the Rings to Planet of the Apes. But you know what we have created with them is a collaboration. We are working hand in hand. We've been working with them for the last couple of years already on the next sequels, how to advance everything, how to push all of the technologies, what can we do? And it's really interesting. I think that hopefully during the process, and they might have known this already, but I think hopefully we shed more light on it. We were able, thanks to Jim, to illustrate to Weta that visual effects can be a perfect art, but filmmaking is an imperfect art. And it is the imperfections in what we do as filmmakers that make the connection to you as the audience. They could sit there and they could light somebody and in a white shirt and a black t-shirt underneath and make sure the white doesn't overexpose because they're in the visual effects world. They could cut all the lighting. We couldn't do that in the real world. So we would have to push them and say, "No, make it real." If the camera shakes a little, that's okay, because the camera would shake, or the operator's not always perfect. Doing those type of things. Because for us, we wanted the movie to be real, and we wanted the planet to be real. We wanted audiences to go there and to feel that it was real. And we had to work with them because it wasn't perfect, but it was real in the world. And I said, as we were making the movie, the standard term that I used, the standard we want to get to, was not photoreal. We want it to be photographic. Because you've never been to Pandora, really. You can't tell me what real is. Real is whatever. If I can make it photographic, it's all of a sudden real. And that was the standard that we really tried to go by. Another thing that I think is very important, I'm sure you know this, and I think he did a phenomenal job, and I think in a movie that is as visually enticing as Avatar is, this often gets overlooked, is James Horner's score, which I just think is so amazing on this movie. And it wasn't easy, because we challenged James. We challenged him not to do a traditional score, but to incorporate indigenous instruments, music, vocalization into his score, and yet to have it resonate the same way emotionally that a traditional score would. And James, who, committed to this movie and stayed with it and worked on it, not like most composers do for 6-8 weeks in a period of time in post-production. He was a part of our process from pre-production on. And as we move into the future, music, I think, is going to play an increasing role in our films. Maybe not just in soundtrack style, but maybe source, because part of what the Na'vis don't have is they don't have a written language. Their history is really passed down through songs and things like that. And James really did a remarkable job and was always, there, for us. Paul Fromer, who I know is here on Sunday. How naive I am. When we talked about hiring a linguist, I said, "Oh, great. We're going to find somebody. We're going to hire them. We'll give them the script. 2 days later, they'll write back to it and say, here's what it says." And it's, it's gibberish, but it makes sense. And we met with Paul. I said, "So, Paul, what do you think? A week?" He said, "A week?" He said, "So it'll take me 6 months to figure out the structure of the language." And sure enough, it did. But sure enough, that was the right way to do it. And don't repeat this to Paul. But when we screened the movie for Paul, I don't think Paul saw one visual effect. I think it was all language to him. And I was like, "So Paul, what do you think?" "Well, in this scene, Zoe said this word wrong." And I said, and Paul, who in Des Moines, Iowa is going to know that, right? "However, Zoe said it's the right way now." "Well, no. I said, "Paul, Zoe said it that way. We're going to go with it. The movie's done. We're not changing it now." And we'll do that. I think he begrudgingly at some point accepted that and decided that maybe there's a female version of the word versus a male version of the word. But Paul is not only a great linguist, but he's a great human being for those of you who have not met Paul. And Paul will be a part of whatever we do in the future, and we're very, very excited about that. Today I know you're screening the movie in 2D, which is okay. We'll work with the museum to get them up to 3D soon. But one of the next things that we'll hopefully be providing to the community, at some point in the not too distant future, we'll hopefully have the 3D Blu-ray of the film, not just bundled with a Panasonic, but really available for the consumer and to have it out there and to do that. But as we move forward, we encourage your support, we encourage your feedback. We want to know what you like, what you don't like, how we can do better at what we're doing. And in the digital age, there's great ways of communicating all of that to one another. And as I do look forward to sharing with you future ideas. Next year, we'll be able to fill you in a lot more on what the movies are really about. We personally know what they're about now, but we're not sharing that yet. No, it's really interesting. Going back to the pre-internet days, for those of us who might have read George Orwell's 1984, it was Big Brother that we had to worry about. Well, the internet now, it's little brother that we have to worry about. And if you can imagine, going back to Jim doing Aliens, if the Queen alien was plastered all over the internet before that movie came out, it would be a very different experience. And we really believe that part of what our responsibility, and we enlist your support in this, is to allow us to reveal the curtain. Let us raise the curtain and present to you the movies. And let it not be about, oh, here's a peek while we're making the movie of a creature, of a this, of a that. There'll be times to let that all out. And we'll figure that out as it makes the best sense in the storytelling. But as filmmakers, we need the opportunity to get our legs underneath us. We need the opportunity to finalize designs before they are critiqued. We need the opportunity to refine a performance, to refine the music, to do all of those things. And then preserve what I think is an incredible experience for any movie, which is the in-theater experience. To go into a darkened room and to be transported into another world. I love that. I go to the movies all the time myself, and I'll be excited to share that with you in the future. So thank you very much. We'll open it up to some questions, and we'll go from there. So, are there, yes, sir.
Of course, I jumped out first.
You know what? Do me a favor.
Yes.
Introduce yourself so I start to get to know some of you. So.
I'm Mark Miller.
Nice to meet you, David.
The question was, I believe one of the technology advances is going to be to increase the frame rate to like 48 frame. I was wondering where you guys were with that and how that's being adopted in the wild and how that's going.
You know, we think that 48 frames is definitely in the future of films. We don't know how it's going to play out yet. We don't know whether it's going to be 48 frames, or let's call it higher frame rates. 48 frames or 60 frames or any of these things. And we are working with people like KRISTEN on the projection side, because it's about the projectors, what they are capable of doing. To us, if you look at the in-theater experience, what are the things that prevent you, the audience, from engaging more in the narrative storytelling? Strobing, because strobing's an artifact. We don't have that in real life. It's an artifact of film. When we notice this, it takes us out of the movies. Light levels, when light levels are too dark for us, we notice that. It bothers us. We're not enjoying it as much. Color fidelity, those type of things. So we started out working on the camera side and the digital cameras and getting those to a point where the black levels were correct, the color space was correct, all of those type of things. Now we're working with the projector companies, KRISTEN in particular, and the server companies, because they all need to work in sync. Because what will happen at the higher frame rates, you'll have more light on the screen. Why? There's not more light really coming out of the bulb, but the shutter's closed less of the time. So more light per second ends up on the screen. At the higher frame rates, you get rid of strobing, all of that artifacting that we've become. So we're pushing in that direction. For us, we want to see how things play out, what people respond to. It's about the audience. We've done tests ourselves. They're very promising. And we want to figure out how to use the higher frame rates within the context of our films to make the films better and more engaging experiences. So, other questions? Yep.
So you'll see a lot of, I'm sorry, I should sit up. I'm Britton Watkins, aka Puerto. Nice to meet you all. You see lots of folks back there in blue and braided hair and whatnot. The Na'vi seem very important to the fan base, so tell us how important the Na'vi are to the story.
Oh. The Na'vis are as important to the story as any movie. I mean, they are the heart of the story. They are the things that we want people to identify with. They are the ones who I think will hopefully, the movie begins and ends with the same image, Jake opening his eyes. And he learns things throughout the movie, and he learns them through the Na'vis. And I believe as we move forward, the Na'vi and the Na'vi culture and how they live their lives can be an inspiration for us here on Earth on how we should live our lives. We don't want our movies ever to preach. We want our movies to entertain. But in entertaining, if they can be provocative, if they can have someone leave the theater and think differently, then we've truly succeeded. And there was one executive in Hollywood who told me that, he said, John, I've lived in my same house for 15 years. It was after I saw your movie. I walked out of my house and I noticed an oak tree for the first time. It had been there the whole time. But he started to see like a Na'vi would see. And I think the Na'vi's, the culture and what it speaks about. And one of the things that we've talked about, is that associating with Avatar, we want to mean more than just, I like the movie. We want it to mean something else. We want it to mean it's a way of life. It's a way of seeing things. It's a way of acceptance. It's a way of tolerance. It's a way of understanding. It's a way of connectedness. We live in a connected world. I mean, globally, truly, we do, more than ever. And how do we, break down the barriers that exist between cultures? The Na'vis seem to have done it. Jake seems to have opened his eyes to it. So I think they're central to so much of what we hope to do in the future. And right on, for those of you in blue, go blue. Yes, sir, in the back.
Oh, thank you, sir. Peter, Senpu online to some of you. I've never seen a movie with this kind of effect on so many people. I've seen people change their majors, their careers, political affiliations. I've seen them give up everything from meat, smoking, recreational drugs to TV and video games. It's extraordinary. And first of all, thank you.
Yes. Well, thank you.
And secondly, did you have any clue during production that it could have that effect on people? Were there people in the production crew or the periphery of that exhibited anything like that?
So I'm going to answer that in two phases. One is I want to go back to Titanic for a second. And people say to me, hey, did you ever expect Titanic to be the success that it was? My answer is, of course not. We couldn't have. But we thought it would be a really good Dances with Wolves-esque movie. So that same analogy really applies to Avatar. We made it because we believed it could make a difference. We had no idea the breadth of that difference that it could make. But our people around us, as we were making the movie, I don't think they could have known either, but they knew they were a part of something special. As we were going through it, these people gave us 120% of themselves. We didn't have leaks of avatars online. We didn't have links of banshees online. Why? Because these people felt a commitment to the movie. That when the movie curtain went up and this world was revealed, that people would be affected, that people would be sucked into the story and they would feel something. I tell people, when people say, what type of movies do you want to make? I say to people, we want to make movies that have a theme that is bigger than their genre. Because you leave the plot at a theater and you walk away with the theme. And one of the things I think Jim is so successful at doing is putting in multiple themes. And I think when you leave Avatar, there are many different themes, whether you can articulate them or not. You're leaving feeling something. And movies are about emotion. People are about emotion. We're not about objects. We're not about 9-foot-tall physical beings, too short like I am, too wide like I am. We're about feelings and what do you feel for other people. And we always saw Avatar as an opportunity to touch people. And to have people reflect upon themselves, to understand that their actions have a repercussion on both people around them and the world around them. And if they understand that, we believe people will make the right decisions. So that's how we looked at it. Yes?
Speaking of big people, will there be any big Na'vi?
Now, if you mean big in heart, yes. If you mean big in height, yes. I think anamorphically to do a wide girth Na'vi will be tough. But there's always, we can build big links and put people in the links and they go out there in the world. as those wish fulfillments. Because really, if you think about it, an avatar in many ways is a wish fulfillment. And we tried to, it's obvious with Jake, because Jake, it gives him his legs back. But we tried to hint at that with our other characters as well. Norm, who is really more of a geek in life, suddenly has a more physical presence. But even Sigourney Weaver's character, it's the younger version of herself. If you look at her face, it's the younger version. So I think that's one of the great things about what an avatar can be for everybody. It can be that wish fulfillment. And hopefully, by experiencing that wish fulfillment, it drives you in your everyday life. So, yes, sir. Which clan is red? I'm just curious. No, just kidding, just kidding.
Did you know that?
What name?
I'm Ewan. Some of you know me as Croc. Did you know that?
Are you from Kentucky?
No. Did you know that an engineer in Israel has built a mind-controlled remote robot that works basically like an avatar?
I did not know that. I would love it. Send us the information. I'd love to find out more about that. That would be great. Do you know his name?
No, not offhand.
Do not raise a story when you don't know a name. First, make up the name. I never know the difference. No, but do let us know when you find out more. That would be great. Fascinating to know about it.
Hi, I'm Hans Holman. So you may know me as Rainbow Hawk 1993. My question is, how would you describe the emotional journey you and the cast and crew had throughout the production of Avatar?
Other than the gray hair. I think the emotional journey, making a movie is a roller coaster. What we've been lucky enough, most movies are a roller coaster, I should say. On our films, the hard part is getting to the release. And we sweat it every second of the day. Because, people talk about, our movies and, what they cost, and our movies and how Jim is driven to make the movies right. Nobody puts more of a burden on themselves than we do to deliver a movie that it meets or exceeds the expectations that people have. So that process is very difficult. The toughest day we had was a year plus into doing the R&D, the research and development on the project. When we took the scriptment, Jim writes in a scriptment form first and then a script. We took that into a script form. We had our prototype tests. We presented everything to the studio. And Peter Chernin, who was chairman of the studio, came in and passed on the movie. That was devastating. We had just poured us, and we believed in this movie so much. Now, they had their reasons at that moment for not wanting to do the movie, and ultimately, they did the movie. And someone once said to me, there's no stronger supporter of anything than a convert. And they were huge supporters once we got going. But that day, when we had 100+ people working on the R&D who had put as much into it as we had, that was the low in the roller coaster. Then we were grinding our way uphill, uphill, uphill. Got the movie greenlit, grinding the way all the way through until the first time we ever screened the movie end to end. And it was 2 weeks to the day before the movie opened. We had not seen it end to end in 3D. We had seen the movie. We had mixed all the reels, but we hadn't been able to watch it all together. And we promised a couple of people that we would invite them the first time we screened the movie for ourselves. And included in that group was the governor of California, Arnold, a director named Steven Spielberg, some of our cast, and us. And we screened it in a big theater at 20th Century Fox, the Zanuck. There were only 15, 20 people in the theater. And a moment that I will always remember personally, for me, was at the end of that film, when Stephen was walking out of the theater, and I was at a door like that, outside in the outer hallway, and he walked by me, and I said, "Thank you for coming," and he turned around, and he came back, and he said, "Do you mind if I give you a hug?" And he said, "That was the best cinematic experience I've had in 30 years. And that I will always remember. And this is not somebody that I have a social relationship with. I don't mean to suggest that in any way. It was a fleeting love affair. No, but no, we've been supporters of his films, but when he saw this, he really, it was Jim. But you know, he was a supporter, and he really made a difference. It meant a lot to Jim. I know Jim got a very nice personal note after that about what seeing the movie meant to Stephen, and I would say so that was the high, you know, on the. That's Jim leaving a message. You know, Jim, that was really, you know, the high, and you know, then our next low was losing the Oscar. But you know what? I didn't care. I had an Oscar at home, and we won the public's vote. So there you go. But, you know, seriously, but that night, the people that I felt badly for, and I do admit that I have an Oscar. I never thought in my life that I'd have an Oscar. And I have one. But the people I feel badly for are our sound designers. They had to design a world that didn't exist. They didn't need to blow up a car in Baghdad. They needed to design a world. I felt badly for them. I felt badly for our editors, because they created incredible performances in a process that was so complex. First cutting with reference footage, then cutting with what we call templates, then cutting the final sequences together. How do they do that and still hold true to the story and never lose sight of that? To not allow technology to get in the way of telling the story. Those are the people that night that I felt badly for. And so that was, you know, the roller coaster ride. And, you know, now coming here tonight, we're back on one of the highs. So it's always good. Yes, ma'am.
Linda Smith, you and Mr. Cameron are...
Jim? Okay, Mr. Landau. No. No, not at all.
You are just the most phenomenal team. But I'm sure that during your teamship, there must have been conflicts on how you wanted to do things. How were those resolved?
You know, the way Jim wanted. But it's the way Jim ultimately wanted. Because I think the process, the creative process, and what your role is as a producer, is to lay the ideas out there. Jim hears everything. Sometimes it takes it a while to digest and for him to come to a conclusion whether he agrees or disagrees. But because Jim has confidence in himself, he enlists support. He enlists suggestions along the way because he doesn't view them as a threat. So, you know, we'll talk about how to shoot a sequence. And I'm going to go back to Titanic, and then I'll come back to Avatar, and I'll go back to Titanic. But going back to Titanic, I said to Jim at some point in Titanic, Jim, I don't think we need to build on a ship the way he wanted to and sail around the oceans to film. I think that technology is there where we can do it digitally and do the oceans digitally. And Jim said to me, John, you bring it up to me again, and I'm going to pick up a book that has nothing to do with Titanic, and I'm going to start reading it. A couple weeks later, we had done some tests. I thought the tests looked pretty good. I walked into Jim's office and handed him a book. He goes, what's this? I said, it's a book that has nothing to do with Titanic. Let's talk about this again. And after Jim saw what we had been able to do, he made the decision himself to you know, not to be on the water and to do it all digitally. You know, I tell people a story and about what does a producer do. And I go back to something that Al Ruddy, who was one of the producers of The Godfather, told me that one day they were out there filming and they had 2,000 extras on the street. And Francis Ford Coppola was up on a crane and they're about to film, and Al Ruddy comes out there and goes, Francis, come down, come down. Francis comes down. He is not happy. What, Al? What do you want? He goes, Francis, every one of those extras has a bowler hat on. Don't you think it looks ridiculous? Francis loses. This is my movie. Nobody tells me how to direct my movie, and had people escort Al off the set. Francis goes back up in the crane. They're about to roll, and he goes, wait a second. Take some of the hats off of those extras. That's what a producer does. But so as you go through it, I think the thing to keep in mind that Jim knows, and he learned this when I was an executive at Fox. He and I might disagree on something, but I am always bringing up what I think is best for the movie, not what's best for Jon. What is best for the movie? And if we can disagree on something, but know that it's in the same interest of the film, it's okay to have those dialogues. And I think that's really what gets us through those type of moments.
I hope your team should last forever.
Well, thank you. It's being recorded. Someone said to me, with Jim, you have to count everything in dog years. So I've now been with Jim 118 years and doing pretty good. So, yes.
Hi, my name's Andrew. I go by the handle E8. I'm on the podcast. I have gone into movies before and just absolutely been disappointed by the music that they've chosen. I thought Avatar did it really well with James Horner. I know you worked with him a lot. Was there any point where he stood back and said, is this really what you guys want this to sound like? I have something different for you to hear.
It was the opposite. It was, James, this isn't what we asked for. James, what happened to making it more indigenous? James, what happened to, trying something different? And it was really difficult because for James, when you do a score like Titanic, you can sit at the piano and create a melody. And it's a piano melody that plays out, and you get that. You say, okay, that's going to be playing out through the movie, and you as a producer, or you as a director, you hear that, and you respond to it. But this is a movie that, because of the call for the indigenous and the tribal feeling, it wasn't a piano notes. And he couldn't do that. So it was him experimenting and us pushing him and saying, go beyond, push it more, push it more, push it more. And he really did. And I think he'll tell you that, where he started with thinking, okay, this was enough, and where he pushed it to are two very different things. And he never gave up, and we pushed hard. And we pushed hard, and we pushed hard, but you sit back and you watch the movie, and you would think it was all just so easy for him, because it all came together. I remember going onto the scoring stage at Fox, a 96-piece live orchestra playing this music. It was, you got chills. Forget what was up on the screen. Just what he had done. And I just hope over time people will learn to appreciate the accomplishment of what he did, on this. Because I think it's as good or better than he really did on Titanic. I think it was a bigger challenge, and I think that he really, really nailed it. So, yes, sir.
I'm Woody, otherwise known as Taruk Makto Cesar. Can we get the box set? Because we know there's always a box set, and then they add an additional movie afterward. Will we be able to get all that deleted footage, the extra scenes, put in sequence to complete the movie as the set?
I can't give you an answer on that now, but I will take what you just said under consideration as we move forward. If that's something people would like to see. And I think that's the type of feedback as we go forward. It's little things, but that might not even cross our minds to think about that. You know, it's a little bit difficult, you know, with Titanic and even with Avatar. When we talk about doing an extended version, because we can't call it a director's cut. Because what we put out in the theaters is the director's cut. And there's parts of the story that we can't include for whatever reason it is, for strengthening something else, giving up something else. But as we move forward, we will definitely take that into consideration. Do you have something else?
Yeah, the added part where they went on the hunt.
The Stern Beast hunt.
The war song. And in my opinion, that didn't really fit because it went from one music theme to that scene with the war and then back out to a whole nother. So that didn't clip very well. Would you replace that if? Well,
look, I think that, you know, what we did when we did the extended scenes, we didn't go back and rescore. We took what we had, and because that scene wasn't in the movie originally, James never really scored it. So again, something to take into consideration as we move forward. So, yes. One more. What are you talking about?
Well, then there's signing and photo.
Okay. Wow. Hold on. I'm going to negotiate. I'll do one more. You get 3D projection. Okay.
My name is Fredrik. I'm from Sweden, and I have a little thing that I noticed in the movie that you see now we have many accessories and hair feathers, but where do the feathers come from? We don't see any animals, anything with feathers.
Maybe it'll be answered in 2 and 3. I said maybe. I said maybe.
Yes, I'm no ski anymore, or most of the forums I've seen. And so my question is when are we going to get any new information, such as perhaps some kind of timeline update or even a title for the sequel? Is there any information there that you could give us?
You know, I would venture to guess by the first quarter of next year as a time frame for those answers. Not for any other answers, just those answers. All right, this will be our last question, and then we'll go on to whatever the boss wants.
So thank you for kind of talking about how you're going to be using social media to release certain things about the next movies as it's relative to the storyline. However, with the online marketing that the Hunger Games has brought to the table, even though they had the books prior to with all the information, how is Avatar going to be able to keep up with that type of media interchange and the amount of extras that they've been supplying? How is that going to?
I don't think we want to keep up with it. I think we want to be ahead of it. So I think that's one of the things we're really focused on, and I think Kathy to her team is going to be adding a person specifically in the digital area, to look at those opportunities and how do we use all of these different opportunities we have to grow the world, build excitement about, to me, it's about building an excitement about the world of Avatar, of which the movies are one thing. But we want a world and a universe that lives outside of the films. We want this gathering to grow every year, every year, every year. And we thank you for being the foundation for that growth. So thank you all very much.
So John's agreed to sign things and do photo opportunities. Also, I believe you all have something you want to do right now.
Sure. I'm Kevin.
Kevin, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. And we would like to wish you a happy birthday.
Ah.
We really appreciate you being here, so thank you very much.
Happy coming. Oh, wow. Thank you all very much. Who's the good artist? Thank you, and I look forward to meeting each one of you tonight, hopefully, and doing pictures and signing whatever you guys want.
Also, thanks to John and Kathy, upstairs outside we have some refreshments and popcorn that you can have and film. Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Kathy. And so it's meet and greet time, and I think we'll start the film in about half an hour. Yes, Kathy?
Is it possible to get a group shot of everybody with John before we do individual stuff if everybody can come together?
Come down.
Because I need it for Facebook.
I had enough time trouble not tripping the carpet at 6 o'clock. You're trying to kill me. That's how it is. If we make this time
We're on time table here.
Thank you all.
Absolutely.
I've heard you do a lot, so greatly appreciate it.
Well, wouldn't be anything else. It's great for you guys to provide us.
I can send these to people who weren't able to be here.
Thank you very much. Smile and wave.
Left boom.
Have a great night, guys.
Hail Taxi.